Guys, can we stop the meme of Kang in the MCU is not strong because he lost to a bunch of ants? There's definitely context to it. These ants, first of all, are not like normal ants. First of all, they're freaking large ants. Second of all, they're enhanced ants that have more knowledge and have thousands of years of experience and such, and prep time and such.
Apparently, they passed through some sort of time dilation. They lived thousands of years in a single day, expanding their knowledge, their science, becoming more advanced than I could have ever thought. They've already built something of a technocratic Class 2 civilization.
We don't know how strong these ants was, and they jumped them. Not to mention these ants are strong enough, each of them on their own can level building. Just let that sink in. And Kang was still holding all of these beings off. Kang's blast power was even pushing them off of them right here, for example, these super overpowered ants. It's not to his own person that he himself enhanced. MODOK, it appears MODOK come and depowered this, which is how he got overrun and how the ants messed up his gear and technology to where his battle suit pretty much malfunctioned. Yeah, they jumped him this bad, yeah. If I had to make my own personal assumption, I would say his suit in this movie probably wasn't the strongest like the versions that he took out the Avengers with.
You're an Avenger. Have I killed you before? They all blur together after a while. You're not the one with the hammer.
It's Thor.
You're out of your league, Ant-Man.
Kang the Conqueror. Calling this guy a conqueror is an understatement. This guy made his own empire in a whole different realm at subatomic size. Let that sink in. Ever since the big announcement that the guy that previously played Iron Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was going to be playing somebody else known as Dr. Doom, it seems that they're scrapping the idea of Kang the Conqueror being the big bad in the next Avengers film, it seems. So it kind of sucks that cinematic Kang's feats are going to be cut short because he planned on getting a whole bunch of more feats, but even though his feats are limited currently, and he's probably not going to get no more, he still has some decent ones that I want to talk about today when it comes to technically how strong he is. And it's the funny thing about Kang and Dr. Doom, they're both beings that I would consider battle suit kings, like beings that have ridiculously overpowered battle suits. Like I would consider Doom and Kang similar to each other in that aspect. Well, technically along with MCU Black Panther and MCU Iron Man being battlesuit kings, like those are probably the top battlesuit beings in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in my opinion, as we've seen. I wanted to see more of what Kang can do, but let's analyze the stuff we do have anyway. Let's get into it. Very similar to comics, he's a very techie type of character. He has a lot of technology. The guy's very smart. It's the similar stuff to comics, but in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But there's one thing about Kang compared to the other battlesuit beings, is something that he specializes in is this time travel or time manipulation type stuff. That's the main thing that's unique to him when it comes to technology. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's like multiple universes. They call it the multiverse, like different versions of the same characters in different universes that result in making different choices and stuff. Like this whole concept is big. Well, just like in animation or in comics or any form of media, Kang is a powerful being, but there's also other versions of himself throughout the multiverse. This is what can confuse a lot of people. What's the real Kang? You know what I mean? Because there's so many versions of himself that's smart. There was even one in the Loki series that technically got killed. Well, that's one variant, one universe version of Kang. That doesn't mean it's over. But this one particular Kang might have been the one Kang you shouldn't have did this to, because he was kind of keeping order in the multiverse through the universes and such, and the timelines. Because when this happened, this is where we kind of see that timelines kind of go out of control and craziness starts happening. That particular Kang she killed was keeping the multiversal war in check, basically, and killing them kind of bad consequences. Oh man, it's just a lot to process.
A variant of myself lived on Earth in the 31st century. He was a scientist, and he discovered that there were universes stacked on top of his own. At the same time, other versions of us were learning the same thing. They made contact, and for a while, there was peace. Not every version of me was so pure of heart. For some of us, new worlds meant only one thing: new lands to be conquered. The peace between realities erupted into all-out war, each variant fighting to preserve their universe and annihilate the others. This is almost the end of everything and everyone. That first variant encountered a creature created from all the tears in reality, capable of consuming time and space itself. A creature,
Alioth.
I weaponized Alioth, and I ended the multiversal war. Once I isolated our timeline, all I had to do was manage the flow of time, prevent any further branches, hence ages and ages of cosmic harmony.
I keep you safe.
There's a lot of different versions of himself, but there's a version in particular I want to talk about majority of this video, even though I might bounce back and forth, the one in the Ant-Man Quantumania movie. You know you a savage when other versions of yourself gotta exile you, bro.
He was exiled here and trapped him here.
The exiled one.
My variants throughout the multiverse.
You only want revenge because they beat you.
I will burn them out of time for what they've done to me.
For the most part, a lot of the Kangs have a lot of similar origins. Like when it comes to them all being smart scientists in a very far away future from now where we have better resources and better technology, a lot of that stuff stays intact. Think of all the resources that current Marvel timeline characters have and what they can do with it if you're smart enough. Now imagine beings with this similar level of intellect, or one could argue greater, but with greater resources and evolved technology. Think of Kang like that. Smarts like this, good at battle suits, but he specializes in time travel type stuff. Even in present day technology, Iron Man has suits that damn near look magical. I mean, just think about the current amazing technology Wakanda has in present day. Like imagine the future. You see what I mean? That's why Kang is so impressive. This is what we've already accomplished in present. Imagine the future. See what I mean? Notice the nanotech and how the helmet works. Look at the way he suits up. It looks liquid metalish, you know? I mean, just think about it for a second. In the MCU, Iron Man's older suits can do energy output of 8 gigajoules per second and produce 200 petawatt lasers, guys. That's the similar energy of a nuclear freaking bomb. A high-end nuclear bomb, like a 40 megaton bomb. Like, let that sink in. Like, this is the current technology. So, you know, Kang's got to be like this or better. I mean, this is old Iron Man suits. If Iron Man has suits in Avengers 1 that can produce lasers that can hit or blast with a similar energy of nuclear bombs, what do you think Kang got? The interesting thing about Kang, similar to comics, even though he's a technology-based type character, he's not afraid to just straight up fight you in hand-to-hand combat when it comes to just literally just striking normally. That's something that probably will surprise you about him. Yeah, when both of their tech is messed up, like he was giving Ant-Man the hands. He has tech or platforms, blue platforms that allow him to glide. He can project holograms, realistic holograms on the spot with his technology. I mean, his tech is so advanced. His tech is like an extension of himself, like all of his tech. So he doesn't really have to really press any buttons, really.
His ship was neurokinetic, connected to his thoughts.
When you touched my mind,
there's clear indication his suit gives him super senses. He can see Ant-Man characters when they're shrunken and small, even from far away. Notice when any of the characters get small, they never can get the drop on him. Usually this works on everybody, but he can still perceive them and see them in these small states. This blue energy you see him use is constant. Like he's using his suit's power for this blue energy. He can make portals to get to places faster if he needs to. It seems to be clear that he has some type of telekinesis, pushing beings back with a finger flick. Does the same thing to him here, lifting him up in the air, like he has the Force. That's pretty evident. You can't just throw spears at him. Catches it. He can create shields, blast in an omnidirectional type of way. One could say he can use telekinesis to divert the energy, or one could say absorb that same energy and blast it back. He can do straight up energy blasts from his hands. The tricky thing about Kang is because his technology essentially makes him a walking hex. Him beating a character might not necessarily mean he beat them like by blasting them with concussive force. He could have did some time manipulation and beat them. Like that's why the context for him is a little confusing on how he's able to do some of these feats I'm gonna talk about in this video, because a lot of it happened off screen, but there's some implications he can blast with it, but there's some implications he could have just killed them with some type of time manipulation or something too. He's very hacksy. I mean, because what's being stronger than somebody going to do if they just turn you into a baby? You know what I mean? Like being stronger than them ain't going to help you with that. Unless you got resistance to time manipulation to where you can't get turned into a baby or something. If I'm not mistaken, Kang is the only character we've seen so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that can do some time loop stuff without being a magician and without an Infinity Stone for one, the one we know in particular as the Time Stone. Kang can technically do this stuff without even technically needing an Infinity Stone, which is definitely an accomplishment.
I will kill your daughter in front of you, then make you relive that moment over and over again in time, endlessly, until you beg me to kill you.
I mean, he literally has ships that allow him to travel anywhere. He's quote unquote strong in different ways that don't really involve muscle, but instead his energy projection, his blast power has raw concussive force that can hit you really hard this way. Like when we're talking about blast power, there's implications he can vaporize beings with just one single shot if you don't have the durability to withstand his blast. It seems to be the same kind of energy he shields himself with when he makes energy shields and barriers. Even when his ship was messed up here and he was mad, he messed up like the hut. This implies he can easily level buildings or a small house at least. A good way to understand Kang's raw power is, you know, looking at Ant-Man. It's his movie. We see Ant-Man easily level buildings when he gets large, to show his super strength, be able to punch down this kind of stuff, the weight of his hits. So this can give you a perspective on what Kang has to deal with through this movie. Because let's be honest, once you get a certain size, you kind of going to get strong by default, especially if you can move around at a certain weight and size. This definitely applies for Ant-Man for sure, or one could say Giant Man in his giant forms. We've seen firsthand how strong Ant-Man or Giant Man could get in the real world if he grows. He can mess up airplane wings this big because he's getting larger. You see what I mean? You see the difference in strength he can get? First of all, with his energy rejection, even when beings get like dang near building size, he can blast them off of them. It's the same that goes for his durability for his suit's armor. One could say can take just like what he can dish. Despite these beings being super large building size, he can still withstand these hits, blast them backwards after it. A good argument can be made is that maybe in this Ant-Man movie, they purposely had it to where Kang's suit wasn't at his full power, because I will admit his most impressive feats are technically in the flashbacks. There was a point in the movie where she got to see in this being's mind, like there was a character that got to see in Kang's mind. You got to see the stuff he's done. The stuff doesn't really have context, it's very vague, but there's implications that he can shoot an energy blast or omnidirectional blast that can do catastrophic damage to a big part of the planet, to where it looks like, yeah, he could literally blow away continents, like based on the size of stuff like this. Like, this is the same blue energy I've been talking about throughout this video. This blue energy is implied to be his energy blast. Sure, we don't know the exact size of this planet, but we can definitely see that this is at least a planetoid type thing, and he made like a gigantic blue wave that looked like it was the size of continents at least. No pun intended, but stuff like this imply he could easily wipe out cities or even countries based on that flashback. If we're to take it seriously, it makes you wonder, where was this power at against Ant-Man? So that makes me think that's why his suit was kind of depowered in that movie. You know, maybe the Kangs exiled him with limited tech. You see what I mean? It was still good tech, but it was limited compared to the ones he was using to fight other Kangs. I know the number one thing you're probably thinking, how do we know this was Kang blasting with one blast? Well, think about it. There was another scene that showed Kang doing an omnidirectional type of blast in all directions, and you see the wave of energy keep on spreading. It definitely came from him, incinerating everybody in his path, implying that it really was him that made that big old giant crater on the planet. So now that you know there's a pattern, when every time he uses blue energy, you can kind of get an idea of how raw his blast power is, especially at his peak in the flashbacks, when you see him devastating worlds. Oops, did I mention? We've technically seen him devastate worlds. We've technically seen him blast. That when we're talking visually speaking, like the way this is drawn, looks like he literally shattered the whole planet itself in his flashback. So saying he can bust continents is just an oversimplification. It's literally implied at his peak technology, his blast power can get so hard, it can actually shatter planetoids themselves. The planet busting stuff makes sense when beings that have the head of a literal supernova blast Kang absorbs it, redirects this blast, overpowers and shatters this guy's head. That's essentially a supernova in a can. Yeah, these beings in the quantum realm are weird. This would all imply that Kang can blast with way more force than destroy planet Earth. If this scan implies Kang can blast away stars, this would imply Earth destruction would be literally a joke to his energy blast. Plus, these feats kind of make sense when you realize that he's like a super duper threat to the point where he's beating different versions of the Avengers throughout the multiverse. Of course, this is one of those things we never saw on screen, so it's kind of hard to rank this. We don't know how strong these different universe versions of the Avengers are, you know, so it's a lot up in the air. But based on the way they were setting this guy up as a villain, I'm pretty sure they was probably going to have him be up there with the powerhouses of the main universe MCU, like with Captain Marvel, Thor. Matter of fact, Kang himself said he took on an alternate reality. Thor.
Have I killed you before? They all blur together after a while.
These statements kind of remind me of what happened in the actual comic books. Yeah, this right here isn't the MCU, but this kind of reminds me of like a similar event that happened in the comics, the possible future. Of him taking out all the different Avengers and such. You know, Kang probably got so many weapons that he could technically use.
You're not the one with the hammer.
That's Thor.
We don't know if the version of Thor that Kang fought had Stormbreaker. So yeah, it's a lot up in the air. The main universe Thor that we're used to, even without counting Stormbreaker, technically has feats like this, hitting the ground so hard with his striking power, starts breaking pieces of the planet apart. No, I'm not exaggerating when they say breaking pieces of the planet apart, because when we deep dive into the lore in the handbooks, they talk about and expand on these scenes more and talk about what happened here. I mean, there's literally lore that talks about this scene on how he starts cracking the planet apart, shook the very planet itself. This ice planet may not be the size of Earth, but still impressive nonetheless. May not be as hard to shake as a planet like Earth, still impressive nonetheless. MCU Thor, even before Stormbreaker can hit hard enough to shake planetoids with the weight of his hits. Sure, we don't know the feats of the Thor that Kang fought, but the main cinematic universe version of Thor has done this. You know, you can kind of get an idea of where the writers kind of want these power levels to be. Planet trembling type might. It kind of makes sense. Kang beat him with a planet destroyer like I showed earlier, but his feats get scarier than just Earth destruction and planet destruction, because you know how the MCU has different timelines? In a weird way, the different timelines are literally different universes. Like, technically, this timeline's a universe, this timeline's a universe, this timeline's a universe, this timeline's a universe. You know, see what I mean? Like, literally, timelines are actual universes because they're different possibilities of the same events that could possibly happen. Part of these feats are probably because of time manipulation stuff. He might have not used his actual energy blast to blast a timeline away or something, or blast the universe away. It's really unknown on how he actually did this, but apparently he actually destroyed entire timelines aka and or destroying actual universes. I mean, we can only speculate, but via time manipulation or some type of hacks or collapsing the timelines, creating incursions or something, he can destroy the entire universe or universes. I mean, look how they animate these timelines getting destroyed. They literally animate it like the actual timeline itself literally blows up. I mean, just the collateral of the different Kangs of different universe fighting each other in this multiversal war, they were threatening to make the multiverse itself collapse, creating incursions, blah, blah, blah. And you do too many incursions, you end up destroying the multiverse, universes.
Each variant fighting to preserve their universe and annihilate the others. This is almost the end of everything and everyone.
Matter of fact, there's implications that Kang, like a different variant, the different Kang that's different from the one that we saw in the Ant-Man and Quantumania movie, the one we saw in the Loki series, there's implications this Kang harnessed a creature, a ridiculously powerful creature. It was a creature that can mess up like timelines and stuff. But yeah, I'll let them say it.
That first variant encountered a creature created from all the tears in reality, capable of consuming time and space itself. A creature.
Alioth.
I harnessed the beast's power and began experimenting on it.
I weaponized Alioth, and I ended the multiversal war.
Obviously, this Kang right here that you see in this picture is a different Kang from the one in Quantumania, but I just wanted to make that be clear, like that a version of Kang actually stopped the multiversal war, ended it, made it one sacred timeline, keeping things in order, made the timekeepers, TVA, all that stuff is because of him. All because he harnessed the power of a creature and used it, weaponized that creature to defeat the other Kangs, ending the multiversal war. Yeah, this being that Kang experimented on and harnessed the power of, this Alioth being, is a trans-dimensional being that literally be consuming timelines, aka, you know what a timeline is? Universes, that's what timelines are. So there's actually somebody out there that's so smart that used their brain and technology somehow to weaponize, experiment on a being like this, to literally weaponize it to make it eat universes timelines. Like there's a version of Kang out there that did that. I mean, this creature got some serious accolades. Yeah, this Kang was kind of crazy, but he's technically gone now. And that's why all these different Kangs are running around again. But what do you guys think? We'll probably see no more of him anyway, so we can only theorize really at this point anymore in the future. Hit that like button. It would really help out a lot. Respect Kang, even in the MCU. And I got to give appreciation for those that have donated to the channel. Kang is nasty. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.